Warning: there are predators that are armed and ready to take advantage of people like you in the event of a disaster. People like you, but at the polar end of the moral compass, who see their survival as a goal that will be met with little concern to who gets harmed in the process. This is the testimony from one such predator. The following contains limited explicit language. Viewer discretion is advised.
You want to know how I survived? The first weeks after the shit broke were easy. They were very easy. You see, every want-to-be survivalist and extreme weather prepper who purchased their survival gear at Walmart or on a site like Amazon. Shit, you remember Amazon, don't you? They were doing so, and unknown to them, they were placing a target for me right on their back. Before the break, the things that these people, the average person, purchased were about being seen, being rescued. Bright colors, loud noises, easily captured communications. That gear is just what I needed. What they learned too late is that when people are out to kill you, and they are going to kill you, they're going to kill you just for the chance, the freaking chance, that you had a can of food on you. In those times, you don't want to be seen. You don't want anyone, no one like me, to know where you are. Because if I know where you are, and I am going to come, I'm going to take your stuff. So the first few weeks were very easy for me and my crew. We sent scouts out, never following the same pathway home, always passing by forward arm positions before turning back home, so that if the scouts were followed, my guys could silence their tags. And it was the job of these scouts to do nothing more than use their bright colors and open comms against our targets. So many of the early targets were easy to take. I don't know what they were thinking. Actually, I do know what they were thinking. They thought what millions of other people like them around our Earth thought. They thought that other people were generally good. They took their bright orange tarps and their store-bought radios, and they went out into the woods after the food fighting started, after the cities fell. Here, where they pitched their tarps and they made their little campsites in the woods, they sat thinking that only other, like-minded people would be in the woods with them. They thought that other people escaping the city must have some semblance of intelligence, some good in their hearts, to want to get out into the woods and to want to survive on their own. In some ways, they were right. The people lucky enough to find like-minded and good-intentioned survivors, they banded together. We stayed away from those larger groups. The larger groups became dangerous. But there were just so many to choose from. Then there were the comms freaks. So many of these idiots hailed open comm lines for close-by survivors. They must have been afraid of the dark. I don't know. Afraid of not being alone. They didn't even consider who might be listening, who might be hearing the comms freaks, as they would open lines talking all day with anyone that would give them a reply. At first, we considered that someone out there would be like us, and that these easy grays were trying to lure us into a trap. So we took those first couple of targets with above-average care, precision, and precaution. But we quickly found out that survivors beget predation. Very few of the survivors in the woods were armed. Some of them were, but it was easy to overwhelm them. First, we watch a target for a few hours. Make sure that they're alone. Make sure they're not expecting anyone. We watch for signs of weapons, watch their habits, see where they're stashing the stuff that they don't want anyone else to find. And then we wait. Because humans don't understand their own vulnerabilities. We waited for a meal. At first, we waited for dawn, assuming that the sleeping were the most vulnerable. But we found out, after a few less than ideal outcomes, that survivors would slumber with awareness on their mind, and that this thought process would increase their reaction time when facing a slaughter. But you see, humankind, doesn't realize how vulnerable we have become while eating, or even when preparing a meal. Their focus, especially after the break, became all about their next meal. So when they would sit over their fire, or idly by staring at their can of slop, as the delicious smell of their meal began to fill their minds before it filled their bellies, that is when we would strike. They were quickly overwhelmed, over and over again. And that's where a majority of the bounty came from. Was there resistance? Sure. But it was few and far between. Most of the goods for our own survival came from simple saps that just didn't know any better. There was this one time, though, that I would like to mention. You see, I am not a monster. I am capable of monstrous things. But I myself am not a monster. My guys, on the other hand, they're a different story. You see, I'm able to keep them in check because I am capable of monstrous things. They respect my willingness to follow through, no matter what opposition I face. But at my heart, I am not a monster. One of our scouts found a family, a woman and a child. I don't know, she must have been the widow of a prepper or something. She was pretty well stocked. What it comes down to, in times like this, is who do I want to survive more? Me? My crew? Or some stranger that I don't know or care about? These are the questions you started having to ask yourself after the break. Well, the scout called it in, and we waited. Like I said, we waited for them to make a meal, which had become our new SOP at the time. Mealtime came, and something happened. Seeing the appreciation on that little girl's face for no more than the next meal that she had hoped would come. This reminded me of something before the break. At a time when meals and just the inward appreciation of the human smile mattered more than just the next thing that you were going to shove into your gullet. So I did this mother a favor. I sent my guys back to camp. After I was sure they were gone, this mother and I enjoyed a meal together, and we had a nice, long talk. We talked about the darkness in the woods. That is, the true monsters that would not be as kind as I was to her. So you see, I'm not a monster. And you, even as you sit back there, probably thinking about how you could never do these things, never take the life-giving items from the hands of other people just to lengthen your own lifespan. You know in the back of your mind that if you were placed into a scenario that made you ask yourself, who do I want to survive more? Me? My group? Or some stranger I don't know and I don't care about? You will choose yourself.
A special thank you to our Patreon members for making this video possible. It's with your help that we can all gain more preparedness. I want to invite everyone to visit my-tac.net today. David emailed us this morning to let us know that he was having a ridiculous sale on tactical nylon gear with 15% off orders of $50 or more, and this includes everything from tactical plate carriers to bottle holders. We'll put the link in the description below, so visit www.my-tac.net. And if you have a question for David and his team, let him know that you caught wind of the deal here.